welcome back to Tom's Comedy Club, and welcome back, woohoo, to Joking Apart. The podcast has had more episodes this year than I've had hot dinners, which is a very small amount, I know, but you gotta not burn your mouth. Really, you need to keep it cool. And so, today, we're back doing it. We're doing it in the lovely month of August, which means it's time for the Edinburgh Fringe, so hopefully you're all enjoying that. If you're not enjoying it and you started watching this, what on earth are you doing? Enjoy yourself. I've got some wonderful acts. I did 3 episodes of a series for more people. Come on. Anyway, so we're going to move on. We've got a guest. He is best known for appearing on BBC, well, not BBC, Channel 4 News last year. It's the one and only Tom Mayhew.
Hello, mate. How you doing? You good?
I'm all right. Let's start at the very beginning. I did silence Julie Andrews. She's now on mute. How did you get into comedy?
Well, I always liked it as a kid, really. I really liked watching sitcoms with my family and my parents. And then when I became a teenager, I really sort of fell in love with stand-up. And, firstly through watching panel shows, but then through them probably discovered stand-up and really fell in love with it as a format. And then, I've probably been writing jokes since I was about 14 at school. Did my first gig at 18, then started gigging regularly when I was about 21. And somehow the time's flown and I'm still in it. So.
And do you have a favourite sitcom that you watched when you were younger?
It would probably be either the ones I remember most watching and really enjoying, have fond memories of, would be either like Only Fools and Horses or My Family, which I know is probably not a very fashionable sitcom in the comedy world for whatever reason. But I'm like, yeah, but the first 4 series, there's some good jokes in there. It's good.
And so do you basically just sit and stare at gold whilst watching the same episodes of Only Fools and Horses and repeat all day?
No, I've got the DVD box set, so I don't have to do that. Luckily, because I wouldn't want to do that because I'd worry they'd, you'd what. I like to watch things in order usually, and so I would worry they'd put them in the wrong order, or they'd I don't know what they do because I think they just broadcast it back to back, but they might some days mess it up, and so I don't trust it.
Well, they do it. They do it back to back on a weekend, and then on a special occasion, they air it on a weekday in the evening. On a very special, if they want to celebrate the 80s, it's Only Fools and Horses from 8 p.m. till like 1 o'clock in the morning, and it's the same episode. And then sometimes they cut it in half to make it a 2-parter, but it never was a 2-parter in the first place.
I was reading about the famous bar scene where Dale falls through the bar, and apparently the waiter in that, who I don't think even really has a speaking role, but because of the way the contracts worked in the 80s, he gets like a residual fee every time it's shown. So every time the episode's repeated, every time the clip's shown, he gets a bit of money, and I think he's just made an absolute mint of it, like just for being a very unknown character in the scene.
Oh, that's amazing. And so, going back to the world of stand-up or sit-down, because Chris McCausland sits on a very high stool, so he technically isn't standing up. What was the circuit like when you joined it?
I mean, it was kind of probably just when things started. I think it's slightly different now. I think there's a lot more stuff where it's all probably even more digital than it was then. But literally, when I first did my very first gig at 18 was 2010, and so I think there were bits of things on Facebook and Twitter was just starting pretty much. But now I think it has probably changed quite a lot because of them, like just in terms of how you apply for gigs or how people find you and giving gigs. But in terms of the actual gigs, I think it's still pretty much the same. I don't think anything's. I mean, I guess maybe the culture's probably changed in the last 10 years or so. Maybe but that's just always going to happen. I don't think that's the circuit. I think that's just the world.
Yeah. And do you feel that the circuit has either improved in the style of comedy, or do you reckon it's still has remnants of when you joined?
I think it's constantly improving and getting better. I think the reality is there's more and more people doing comedy every single year, and like the more people do something, and the more different people try things and approach things, is always going to improve. Like that's why people tend to think that someone like, to compare it to football, people think that someone like Messi or Ronaldo, they think they're much better than Pele was, and I think comedy is probably similar in that there's so many people doing it, then the people at the top will always be better than the people at the top 20 years ago, just because there's so many of us hustling.
And do you reckon that, because you mentioned about being on top, do you reckon there's a hierarchy in British comedy?
Yeah, massively, 100%. Yeah, a lot of it is dictated by how experienced you are, or what things you've done in the past, or sometimes who you know, or all those sorts of things. But I'd say there is a sense of a hierarchy. But I think what's really quite interesting about stand-up in particular is that sometimes like that can be invisible as a thing. Like literally, I think something like my 10th gig, I was doing an open spot, and I was on the same bill as it was a gig run by Brian Gittins in Brighton, and I was on the same bill as Harry Hill, and that was my 10th gig. And you're like, this is mad. I shouldn't be on the same bill as someone like this. But occasionally things like that happen in comedy where, literally the bill could be one person who's going 30 years and then one person who's going 3 months. Yeah. And so sometimes it can feel like, you're so close to people who are so far away from you.
And a question that no one has an answer for, but people try and come up with an answer is, when can you classify yourself either on a CD or if your stepmother's grandma's niece asks you what's your job, when can you start calling yourself a comedian?
I mean, some people do it literally after their first gig. They do it, they get a picture, put it on Twitter, and call themselves a comedian. Which I guess you technically are. Technically, that does count if you've done a gig. Technically, you did stand up, so you could argue that yes, I did stand up. But I think, for me, it probably took like a good. And I think it's different for everyone. It depends how quickly you start in your career and stuff like that. But I think for me, it was about 2 years in, and maybe what would that be? 400 gigs or something. It's just when I feel like sometimes it's just when you feel like maybe you have the right level of confidence or the right level of achievements, or but I think it's different for everyone.
And one of the things you were doing as a comedian this year is the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in a small town that no one's ever heard of called Edinburgh.
Yeah.
What is your show about? Where can they find it? And will they have a good time?
My show is about kind of not having much money, and the constant sort of drive I have to make loads of money, and trying to do that. It's at 6:30 at the Three Sisters, and I think we'll have a good time. I can show you. This is my Edinburgh flat. I'm in here right now. This is Edinburgh. This is all my liners. Can you see them?
Yeah. Wow.
It's just all loads of fake money I'm giving to people. So that's I can virtually fly people. Like, there we go. Do you want to fly people? I can do that. But this is my Edinburgh flat. It's very much literally just a student accommodation. It's but it's nice. I think Edinburgh, it's so expensive to stay up here that I'm literally like, do I have a bed? Is there a shower? That will do. So yeah, people enjoy the show. I think it's good. I'm enjoying it, and you can pre-book a ticket, or you can come for free. So literally just if you're about Edinburgh, come along.
And before we just take a small detour for anyone that's watching this on the week it comes out, I don't know if this week or the week or next week, but at some point, I can't say too much until my review's out on Wednesday. But there's a program on Alibi that features the Stand Comedy Club in Edinburgh for a whole good. There's like a good half an hour of the episode dedicated to just the room, but not even anyone on stage, just the room. So if you're out and about in Scotland, you can walk into a TV set and realise you don't know why it's a TV set, and then walk out and think, "I just wasted my time being there." But how do you write your stand-up? Do you spend hours writing and scribbling and having all the balls on the front of the bin, or do you do it to Billy Connolly and walk on and say the first thing comes into your head?
I'm more kind of I'll think of a theme or a topic and then just think about that constantly and go, how can I turn this on its head? How can I make it funny? It always starts with me knowing I want to write it around this idea, and then I deconstruct it and write the jokes about it. Because I think I want to write jokes about stuff I care about. I don't really want to write about washing machines. Like, I love a washing machine, don't get me wrong, and I don't know, maybe you're a big fan of washing machines. If you are, absolutely fine. But I don't want to talk about it for 10 minutes on stage.
Because I do think household appliances have been done to death. We had Ben Elton and we had John Richardson, the love a good household appliance. But for anyone that was watching this or is listening through your room door, what advice would you give someone that either wants to be a comedian or wants to write comedy?
I mean, the simplest thing is, if you want to write comedy, just write it. Because people worry so much about, oh, I shouldn't write it because I don't know where it would get published or where it would get done. But really, if it's not written, then there's no point, worrying about those things. You've got to write it first, and it's something you can just do just for yourself. And if you want to do it for yourself, then at the very least, when you've written it, you'll feel filled and happy that you wrote it. In terms of performing comedy, again, I think it's easier. That's one thing, actually, I suppose, where the circuit has changed. I think it's easier than ever to get into comedy, simply because, like, people could do virtual gigs now, and then that's still a gig. That's still, you tell the jokes to an audience and getting a reaction. So there's people who don't even have to leave their bedroom, and they can do, this could be a gig. That's how easy it can be for someone to do a gig or to test their jokes. So I think it's easier than ever to get into performing comedy.
Yeah. And do you reckon that the uptake in AI will damage comedy, or do you reckon it'll just like fall into place where some people will use it as an advantage?
I think the uptake in AI is probably going to damage society. There's a big role. I think maybe it will, it will damage the creative sectors. I think there will be lots of people up top who want to take shortcuts, see it as a cheaper alternative to hiring writers, and so I think it will cost people work, sadly. But generally, I think in terms of live stand-up, I don't think it's going to be an issue, because the whole joy of stand-up is when it's someone who's doing something that is like unpredictable and out there, and I don't think AI can do that, because the whole point is it predicts things, it gets things that are accurate, and so for it to get something that's really out there, it can't do that. So I think stand-up will be fine, but I think in terms of people who write jokes on shows and all that stuff, we're all going to get replaced by robots, mate. I don't want to, make it a massive downer, but we're all going to be You could be a robot. I don't know. We could all be robots. Like, I might be a robot. I don't know. I just feel like it's going to happen.
And going on to something that isn't robot controlled, as far as we know, is how did your 2 series, hopefully a third radio show, come about?
I did a show in 2019 at the end of Fringe, and it did really well and got some good reviews, and lots of people said really nice things. Then it transferred to the Soho Theatre, where it sold out its 3-day run at Soho Theatre, and on the final day, a Radio 4 producer came and sort of got in touch with me after the gig and said, I really liked your show, I'd like to pitch it for a Radio 4 sitcom. Probably 2 producers to do that, actually, but the one I went with came on the final day, and he said, I want to pitch it for a Radio 4 sitcom. I was like, amazing. A Radio 4 show, sorry. And I was like, amazing. That's exactly what I want to do. And we pitched it, and they liked it, and then we recorded it.
And do you reckon that radio comedy is still still as big as it used to be because of because a lot of comedians are now getting more radio shows than TV shows. Do you reckon that like comedy on radio is still a big deal?
I mean, probably in terms of like a cultural perception, in terms of what it was compared to 40 years ago, probably not, just because we have so many things that are about and so many competing things like the internet and streaming. But I do feel like, in terms of the quality, I think radio is actually the best place to make your own comedy stuff, because when with our show we just had me, a producer, and then an exec producer who would sign off and stuff. So it's just 3 people. Whereas if it was telly, you'd have some writers, you'd have some directors, you'd have loads of producers, you'd have the channel managers, you'd have all these people putting their thing in, and it would be much harder to just do what you want to do. I think radio is a much purer form, and it's still the best way for people going, if I want to translate my live stand-up into something, it's the best. It's just still the best thing to do, because telly would try and butcher it and make it TV friendly, and whereas radio, it can be like a friend show, which is why I really love radio.
So do you reckon that stand-up works better on radio than it does on TV?
I think it translates better. I think it's allowed to translate better because I guess the most stand-up on TV tends to be very maybe a bit more sort of watered down, and it's not the club atmosphere, is it? It's more the shiny arena kind of atmosphere. So it's a different type of thing. Whereas I think also radio, there's just much more stand-up on radio. So you do get a better standard and a better quality and more diversity on the radio, because, in terms of stand-up shows, I mean, what have we got now? We've got Lively Polo, Russell Howard show, people sometimes do guest spots on there. But apart from that, and Comedy Central put stuff online, but telly stuff, it's not really a thing. So that means that there's such a smaller range of people who get to do stand-up on telly, whereas radio, there's massive thing, because Radio 4 is just comedy all the time. And it does mean that, definitely my Radio 4 series, I'd probably be able to do about 10 minutes of it on telly, because if it'd always be going, oh no, we don't want this bit, or this bit might got for the audience or whatever. So I think radio is much better.
And there was, for anyone that wants to know, and you missed out because it's on like 11 PM on BBC Scotland. There's a program called Comedy Underground, which is a very good program, but it's sadly put out at like 11 minutes past 8 at night. So I don't know how many people are watching that type of program at that time, because it's like they've just spent. If you had to sit for hours watching the news, then a program where they talk about the news and the weather, and a program where they talk about the weather that they've just spoke about, but it's a different person telling about a different angle of the weather. One person it's going to rain, one person it's going to be sunny, but it will rain. But then they argue, then you watch them fight, and so it's a good program, but it's on it slightly too late. But on with the world of audio, that you did. How did the idea for your podcast, Snooker Loopy, come about?
I just really love snooker, and I felt like there was a gap in the market for people doing a podcast talking about snooker who don't take it too seriously, because all the podcasts I've heard are just quite dry, boring old men. And so me and my mate Joe said we should record a podcast, and it's much sillier. It's just very ridiculous, but I want to just capture sort of the joy and the silliness, because I think it's very easy for sports podcasts across all sports to become very dry and very serious, whereas people who love sports, they like the silliness as well. So, yeah.
Were you also a big fan of the seminal London pop group, Chaz and Dave? Were you fan of the Chaz and Dave as well?
Yeah, well, I like Snooker Loopy. I think it's a very catchy song. And I think they've got a lot of really, again, silly and quite light-hearted, catchy songs that you can have a bit of a jig to. So I like them. I wouldn't go, they're my favourite. I don't think I'd have, always go out my way to listen to all their albums or anything. But they've got some good tunes. I like Snooker Loopy. I like What's the other one they did? They've done a few really famous ones, haven't they?
The Rabbit.
Then Rabbit, Gertrude or something. Their stuff's just fun and catchy, and that's what you need sometimes.
They did the sitcom theme tune in Sickness and in Health.
Yes, yeah.
It's currently on there. That's TV. And so that was a plug for a channel that will never reply to me anything I send them. Because
keep going, keep plugging away. Eventually, you'll break them down.
well, if you look at their website's like their website basically a non-BBC version of BBC Action. You know, they say go to the action line. That is their website. It's always like, if you need help, call this number. If you need help with this, call this number. We need more money here, so could you help WaterAid or whatever foundation's currently chugging along? We need help with this on that website. And so, what was it like writing additional material for the Radio 4 news program that will never die, the News Quiz?
That was really fun. That was one of my first kind of writing jobs I did, and so I was just really excited to be in the BBC. Like everyone else who was writing on it, were all very like, "Oh, okay, we've got to do a job. What we're gonna write on?" And I was like, "Oh my god, there's the news! The news is over there." I was so excited to be there. Right, it was just lovely, and it's a really fun thing to work on because I think especially doing stand up. A lot of stand up is very solitary. You write it on your own, and maybe you might run it by a couple of people, like a friend or a partner or whatever, but a lot of it's on your own. Whereas someone at the news quiz, you're in a room and you're kind of working on it together and you can bounce ideas about, and that's it's good fun.
And do you get excited when your joke gets used by, like, let's say, a said community? Like, say, for instance, Andy Hamilton's read one of your jokes. It's a white example of something that's on it quite often. Do you get excited and do you feel like enjoyment that the audience have laughed at something you've written?
Yeah, massively, absolutely, 100%. I think you need to keep that. Like, I think sometimes people in the industry can get a bit sort of blasé and a bit disinterested in these things or just see them as a job. But it's like, no, you've always got that. When I always have it in my head, that little kind of, 14-year-old who would have dreamed of having my name on the radio, would have dreamed of people saying these things. So every time it happens, I still just go like, yes, I'm still really, really happy because I think you need that excitement because that's what it's all about. And it's, it's still something that not many people get to do. So you should appreciate it.
And do you often listen back to your episodes of the News Quiz?
Yes, yeah. I listen back. I keep the podcast saved on my hard drive, and just in case I want to go back one day and listen back to them. But yeah, I do listen to them.
You can also use it in your I don't know what the correct term is for audio ones, but you can use it in your show reel.
Yeah, I could do that. It is a good thing to have for that, I think. I'm always I don't know how many credits you need to have a show reel. I've always feel like I'm about 5 short from making it worth what. At the moment, I worry my show reel would be about 20 seconds long, and they're like, "Yeah, mate, why have you made?"
Well, I've learned that a show reel because I do too much, and so
you have about 10 YouTube channels, don't you?
18.
18.
Yeah, and 12.
Are you going for the record, or what's this about?
Well, it's not a record. It's just because I do too much stuff. And my main channel's for Doctor Who, and then I've got a channel that's facts that was for gaming, but I don't do gaming anymore. Got a comedy channel, which is what this video's on, and my most recent channel is a vlog channel, but I don't go outside, so I just have. I went on holiday recently to Scotland, so I made a montage of that, and then I'm on another channel that I do random rubbish.
Yeah,
random rubbish includes me saying, "Oh, it's a banana. I don't eat bananas," and that was it.
that's good. Sounds good.
Yeah,
I just open with that.
Yeah, then I have Taskmaster World, which is it's the only channel I've earned money at. I've been doing YouTube nearly 10 years. And it took me, I created that channel in 2021, and it took me 6 months to start earning money on that channel, all because I I found clips online from the international versions and Taskmaster, uploaded them, and people watched them in the thousands. And when I upload a video with my face on it, only 100 people watch it. Like 1.6k people watch it when I'm not on it, but when I am on it, only 100 or zero watch it whenever my face is involved. So that says a lot about me. And so
No, it shows we need to get you on Taskmaster. That's what it shows.
it really does. And Alex I would agree, because I've interviewed him before. And so back to the point. Right, a show reel, from what I know, needs to be about a minute, is what I've been told from industry experts. And so what you have to find the best bits of your work that also don't sound out of place when you shove them together. So I think 20 seconds is a good start for me. It took me 7-8 months still, and I've still not got anywhere with my show reel because it's hard to find something that makes any sense to anyone other than myself. Yeah. And so that's a little bit of advice from someone else who's told me about it. So other radio shows you've worked on that as sort of didn't need to end but ended, and then the BBC went, we need another one like it, so made another program. What was it like writing the news, Jack?
Oh, well, that's a very different thing to the news quiz, because News Jack is just you write, jokes in your own bedroom and you email them off and you hope they use them. So it's a far more sort of detached writing experience, but it's set up mainly for people who don't, yet work properly in radio, or maybe just, still trying to get their name out there, or maybe just people who think of a very funny joke that week and want to send it in. There's nothing stopping Nish to writing into Newsjack if he wants to. I think everyone's got to earn a living, so. But yeah, that was more just you literally write an email, put a joke in, and send it off, and then you get it on, and it's nice to get it on because it means you've get an asset credit on a radio show, and you contributed to a big sort of community created show, which is cool.
And the only thing stopping Nish Kumar is the show's ended.
Yes.
Yes. So do you reckon that DMs are open is going to be the equivalent? It's going to be as popular as New Jack was because it's now in the second series and no longer political. So they say. I don't really know whether or not they accept political jokes, but do you reckon that type of format is a good stepping stone for someone that thinks they're good at it and wants to try it out to see if it's pursuing path that they want to take forward?
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, but part of me thinks, because when they announced Series 2, it wasn't going to be political. Part of me felt like, well, maybe we should have Newsjack and DMs are open, and you rotate them, a bit like what they do with the Now Show and the News Quiz. Maybe they should have both, because I feel like there still needs to be an open source submission thing. People who want to write the type of comedy they hear on the Now Show or the News Quiz or whatever it is. So it feels like both a good thing that they branched away from it, because there's a lot of political comedy on Radio 4, and it probably is good to have something that's not that. But also it feels a shame that they branched away from it, because it was a good window for people who write those kind of things to get their stuff on the radio. I kind of wish they had both, but then they have their reasons and their decisions and stuff, and that's what they've done. They've got DMs are open.
And from my knowledge, I don't think you can find anywhere to buy the News Jack. I don't think it's on Audible like the News Quiz and everything else is. So
yeah, I wonder whether it's because there's so many writers that are credited.
Yeah,
that maybe it makes it hard to contractually make money off it, because I don't know whether if you sold an episode of Newsjack for like a tenner, you'd have to find 70 people and get them 10p each. I don't know what you'd have to do. So,
and so when you do a radio show or have material on a radio, so you have to do the BBC send you the MP3. It is and blank there. MP3 file of the material, so that you got it either for your own for like your own purposes, such as going in show reels and using it as proof of your own material?
Yeah, well, I mean, they can do it. They don't send it automatically, but I think I asked my producer to get me a copy, and he got me the first series on Radio 4, and then got me the second series on Radio 4. Obviously, I think you just if you email your producer, they'll have all that stuff to hand because they're the one who's been sat editing it, so they've probably got a copy on their computer already. So they'll I've got it all backed up somewhere.
And because that's always look, the BBC Sound isn't always has like a this program will go in 12 days, 9 days, and then you like lose your material, and then it's like what's fine. The only thing that's left is evidence on the British Comedy Guide, which is a fantastic website. Another thing that you have done that has since you've done it, I think, changed format completely. I think your series was the last series to be in its like singular format. What was it like doing your version of the BBC New Comedy Awards in 2018? Because they're now slightly different.
Yeah, it was just on the radio when I did it, and now I think even some of the heats and the regional finals are televised, which is a big step up, and would it be amazing to say you performed on TV and stuff that early in your career? But when I did it, it was the sort of the old radio format, which I think it had been at that point probably for about 10 years, where the heats would go out on BBC Radio 4 Extra, and then the semi-finals and the final, I think they were both on Radio 4, if I remember correctly. The final was broadcast live, and it was the semi-final. But yeah, that was a really fun experience. I really, really loved it, and I think the set in my heat in Manchester is one of my favourite ever gigs I've ever done, because I just felt I really probably nailed it, and it just sounds really good on the radio. And that's, if I remember feeling down about stand-up, I can just listen to that and go, "Nah, you smashed that gig, mate!" Like that was a really good gig, and that was exciting because that was probably entering that competition and doing well in it is what led to me getting those jobs writing on the news quiz, because that's how I met the producers, and they said, "This guy's good at writing jokes, you should get him in your writer's room." And so it's because I entered them that it led to me getting things like the news quiz, and so it all helps and feeds into hopefully building a career.
And do you reckon having this on the radio and being involved in the competition itself, like getting through the submission stage, does that like build up your confidence to say that you are good at it? Because a lot of people at the beginning would have doubts that they're not great, they're never gonna. Does this like bring up your confidence and make your ambitions feel more like believable?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think they do. It's a bit of validation as you go. Yeah, I've done really well in this. I mean, they can be a two-headed sword, really, because like when I didn't get through to the final of the BBC, I was devastated. I was just in tears for about an hour with my girlfriend, because we both thought after I'd done my set, you've probably done good enough to get through to the final, and then not to get through when you. Like the rare times where you do believe in yourself and then you do get knocked back and really feel like a punch in the face, I was absolutely devastated. Like, especially because I had to quit my job in Sainsbury's to do that. The semi-final, like I'd risked so much on it, and then to not get through, it was horrific. But looking back, like getting through to the semi-final is still something that did boost my confidence a lot and did make me go, "Cool, you're a player in this game." You know what I mean? You're doing really well. You've got something to say, and you're getting somewhere. That really does. It does boost you, especially because my BBC Heat I got through. Like the people who got through the Heat was Stephen Buchanan, who won it, Mamoon Enagab, who got to the final, and me. And I think like Amy Gledhill was someone in the Heat who didn't get through, and that's madness now because she's like one of the most critically acclaimed comedians on the circuit. But that show, I think that for me sums up how competitions are not always the be all and end all. They don't always mean if you get to the final, you'll do much better than someone who got to the semi-final or whatever. But I think it also just shows how competitive they are, because you only have to look at the list of the finalists of these competitions over the years, and it's tough. It's really tough, and you can only have 6 people in the final. Only one person wins it, and there's probably at least 20 comedians every year who are good enough to get to the final. So it can knock your confidence when you don't do well, but generally I would say they are validation because you have that thing in the room where it is someone going, cool, there was, 500 comedians invented this, you're in the top 10. And if someone says that, you go, cool, I've done well.
And so for viewers that might want to do the next year's, because this year's has closed, would you recommend people to submit something to it?
Absolutely, massively, 100%. Because as long as you feel ready and confident and you believe you can do a good job, then do it and send it. And, I think I maybe entered it 2 or 3 times without even getting through to the heats before I got through to the semi-final. Like, I entered it and didn't even get through to the heats. And so it would be easy to go maybe, oh, I'm not good enough, or maybe, oh, I shouldn't, or because I didn't get through. But you've got to just keep plugging away and keep putting yourself out there. I'd say even bloody 80% of this game is just hustling and just forcing people to pay attention to you in any way you can, whether it's making 18 YouTube channels or sending off your stand-up to do the BBC thing. You've got to always just try your luck. And it's like, if you don't get through, fine, you do it again next year. If you do get through, enjoy it, have a good gig, and you don't know where it might go.
Well, from my knowledge, even if you've never done stand-up on a stage, you can still submit stuff because you now have the online section, which is how I've been able to submit three times, 3 years. I think I've done it 3 times. I think if I remember rightly. I think submitted to it 3 times because they say on it you have to have up to 5 minutes. And what's really funny is when I look at the stand-up YouTube videos I've done, none of them are 5 minutes. And I always write these things, think, it's going to be 5 minutes, and I look at it, oh, it's 12 minutes, 8 minutes. And I wrote it thinking, oh, I'm only going to, and then I get on a roll. Once I get on a roll, I don't stop. So I'm surprised I even got videos uploaded. I'm probably over there 4 years recording the same thing. And so, do you think that competitions for beginners is a good thing, or do you reckon that they should, people should wait until they've done like more than 3 or 4 gigs?
I think they are a good thing. I think probably focus on doing gigs before you worry too much about them. I think to be fair, you may as well enter them anyway, because it is that thing where most of these competitions, apart from Say You Think They're Funny, I think that one you only enter in your first year. But most of them, like whether it's like the Leicester Square New Comedian or the Laughing Horse New Act, which I don't think runs anymore, but if it's stuff like that, you can enter it for your first 5 years. So you're like, I may as well enter it. I'm not going to lose anything by entering it. Like, it'll be more stage time. It'll be more time to try out my material and see how it goes. And at that point of your career, you're probably just looking for 5-minute sets anyway, so you may as well use a competition to get on stage.
And one of the things you've done that that's really, really funny, because to find out, to be able to remember the name of the thing, if you've seen it and then you've got the name, you have to go to IMDb, because I don't know whether or not, I'm not too sure whether or not it's classed as comedy, but I thought it was hilarious. What was it like being in Tall Dark Friend?
Yes, yeah, Jordan Gray's sitcom pilot. Way before she was a big superstar that she is now. But she recorded that sitcom pilot. It was produced by my partner Olivia, and Frank. We organised a crowdfunder, like me and Liv and Jordan together, and put it all together, and just recorded it at a museum of comedy, and it's on YouTube, and it's properly funny. Like, I think that was kind of probably what helps Jordan get her transaction sitcom off the ground a bit. I think maybe put her on the radar of Comedy Central. Rightly bloody so, because she's flipping hilarious. She's one of the funniest people in the world. I love her to bits. And yeah, that was a sitcom, and it was just really nice because it looks really amazing and incredible. It's shot brilliantly. Like, the camera people and the directors did an amazing job, and it's just one of those things. So when the the really stressful one-day shoot we had, where you're worried about having time to do everything, you're worried about whether we'd be able to get the food and all these things that are behind the scenes, and you look at it and go, "Oh, it looks really bloody good."
Yeah, and do you reckon that putting stuff like this on YouTube is a positive thing to like producers and TV people know that if I put my mind in this one I can produce, or would you be able to give me a TV thing 'cause I'm already writing whatever?
Yeah, massively. I mean, that, with that example, that's pretty much what happened. That people at Comedy Central saw Jordan had written it, then they commissioned an online series off the back of it, which is now going to be an ITV sitcom, and that all came from us putting, well, Liv and Jordan mainly. It came from those two, and Liv sort of helping with the production side, and Jordan, writing it and acting it, and those two came together and made something really, really good that led to all this massive success. And now Jordan's one of the biggest names on the circuit, and that all came from a short film with a budget of about $2,000. But you've got to do these things just like Edinburgh. You've got to take these risks and roll the dice, because it doesn't always work. I'd say, 99 times out of 100 it won't work. You'll put it out there, you'll get 300 hits, and you'll go, "Oh, okay, that was a lot of effort, and it's not really led to what I want." But you have to always keep hustling, keep trying, hoping the right people find it, and that's all we can do.
And with your career in its stage where the next thing you'll do will probably be the biggest thing you ever do, what is your ambitions for your career?
Isn't it? What have you got planned for me? What's going on?
What it was I'm like one of those. I'm Mystic Meg. I'm
Oh, okay. Well, good to hear.
I'm an undead version of Mystic Meg.
Oh, well, thanks, Meg. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to this big thing you've got planned for me. But I mean, yeah, what I'd like to do, I just want to keep doing comedy, keep writing comedy, keep doing stuff on the radio, keep doing stuff live. I just love comedy. I really, really love it. It's my favorite thing in the world, and I'm just going to keep hustling, keep working hard, keep trying to make things that are bigger and better. And like, I've got a sitcom pilot I've written, so I think maybe post Edinburgh I'll try and pitch that to some people. I've got, other sort of things I'm working on, little projects that aren't yet fully written, but I'm working on them as well. Flights to a tour at my show if Edinburgh goes really well. So I've got ideas and plans, but in Edinburgh it always feels like that's hopefully when a lot of the plans might finally be solidified and sorted, whereas right now they're not, because it's only day 4 or whatever it is. But hopefully by the end of September I'll go, cool, I've got this tour day, or this thing's happening.
And do you reckon that Edinburgh is, for you personally, is a good stepping stone to be able to have more people? Because with Edinburgh, some people come to watch shows that they've never heard of because they just thought, oh, I really like the poster. Do you reckon that Edinburgh has helped you to, when you go on tour, to be able to get more fans and get more tickets sold?
Yeah, massively, 1,000% it has. It's that thing where there's a lot of problems with Edinburgh. It's accommodation is horrendously expensive, and generally it's an expensive month to live here, up a month just to eat food, survive, and all that stuff. But it is a thing where there's no other place I'd be able to do my show for 25 nights in a row and have an audience. It simply wouldn't happen. Like, there's just so many punters here who just want to watch comedy, and so many fans and people who just love the art form. And it's the only place and the only month in the world where I can do my show 25 days in a row, have an audience, and make some money and have a fun time. So I love it. I think it's brilliant.
And what I mentioned at the very beginning of this interview is last year you appeared on Channel 4 News. How did that come? How did you end up having a spot on Channel 4 News? How did you end up appearing on it?
Just Twitter, I think. It sounds like most of these things, you think there must be some sort of really big circumstance or big scenario that's led to them, but it was literally just Twitter. I think a journalist put out a request for comedians who are doing material or writing shows about the cost of living crisis. That's what my show was very much about last year. So I just got in touch and it went great. And then I ended up on the news.
And hopefully this year you appear on an even bigger programme than Channel 4 News. The BBC Scotland smash hit Edinburgh Unlocked, because I do think that is the second greatest thing about the Fringe. The first greatest thing about the Fringe is Next Up Comedy. Second greatest thing about the Fringe is that Mark Nielsen does Edinburgh Unlocked, and it doesn't get talked about enough, but I do think that is why it should be on DVD. I should be able to create a whole shrine of Edinburgh Unlocked. It's incredible. It should be on it.
Well, I'd like to be. I don't know, Mark. I think we follow each other on Twitter, but yeah. I mean, that's the good thing about Edinburgh. You do loads of little things like panel shows and little guest gigs that you don't do elsewhere, and it's really nice. You can just be really busy.
Yeah. And is there a specific so I think it is, but the thing I'm specifically thinking about. But is there a certain panel show that's recording at the Fringe that you desperately want to go on? The producer might be watching this, so it's your opportunity to beg. So what is there a panel show that's at the Fringe that records to get published either on the internet or on the TV or radio? Is there a specific one that you are desperate to go on?
I'm doing Vic Slayton's Comedy Arcade, and that's always a lot of fun. I look forward to doing that. I've done one, This Is My Pants, so I'm doing a couple that I'm really enjoying. In terms of ones I'd want to do, I don't know. No, I don't. To be honest, I don't think there is a specific one. I think I'm always just really happy to do them, and I think I'm really good at them. It's that strange thing where people you can show people videos that show you're good at stand-up, but unless you've been on the TV panel show, you can't prove you're good at a TV panel show or anything like that. But I'm good at panel shows. I'm really good at them live. So I'll just say that. And if producers are thinking, there we go, he's good at them. Whatever you produce, whoever's watching this, whatever you produce, I'll be good at it. Whatever it is.
Apart from no, well, the only panel show that I know that only does live now due to some legal issues is What's in the Box, because I remember that that's some tricky thing, because Comedy Central then came out with Guessable, which is about Guess What's in a Box. So the person that made that, I shall not name, just in case Comedy Central are watching this, has had to make it a live only thing because people then moaning at Comedy Central that they stole the idea off him. That's
it. It's. I mean, it's so, because you can't copyright ideas in comedy. Really, it's so hard when it's something as basic as guessing what is in a box. Like, yeah, I don't know how you protect that, and it is a shame. You think that at least, I mean, it's weird because they can't give the original creator any money because then they're admitting they nicked it, but maybe they didn't nick it. Maybe it was just parallel thinking. There's no way of actually proving that they did. Like, it's such a weird thing when stuff like that happen. Maybe it's a bit of material, you can usually tell if it's nicked if it's such a similar flow or such similar words used. But with a concept, you're like, I don't know. I can't speak for what Comedy Central producers do. They might have played What's in the Box for 20 years in their garden. I've no idea.
Well, Comedy Central produces a lot to talk about because the schedule thing of Guessable is so weird. Yeah, like a whole series and they stopped. Then 4 months later, they have like 3 episodes left and they should have aired when they were airing the full series, and then they just go radio silence. Or in the case of Rod Gilbert's Growing Pains, they air the one series and they air something else. So Rob Beckett's QI type program, and then they air the next series of Rod Gilbert's Growing Pains after 6 weeks previously. They had only finished series 3, and then they air series 4. So if Comedy Central are watching, they've got a lot to talk about because it's a scheduling nightmare. But that's separate for another day. So out of the Fringe and out of Edinburgh, is there a specific thing in your career that you want to do that you hope to be able to do one day?
I'd like to do a prop tour. Never done a prop tour. I was supposed to do like a small tour in 2020, and so I'd like, one day to do that thing where you do a big 50-day tour or something ridiculous. I'd really love to do that one day. That's on the bucket list. That'd be good.
Well, if you do end up going on tour, hopefully they book you for Sunday brunch. Because it's just
That's the real dream, is Sunday brunch. It's not even the tour, and I just want to be on Sunday brunch.
Because it's just Pew, I think that's how you pronounce it. Just Pew can get Sunday brunch for going on tour. You can get Sunday brunch. Because Sunday brunch is better than Saturday Kitchen.
Is there a rivalry between the two shows?
Oh no, it's just that when you watch Saturday...
You said it like it was a Blur versus Oasis kind of thing going on there.
No, it's because Saturday Kitchen, it feels stunted because there's no advert. James Martin, I think, who is the host, the episode I watched, just runs out of conversation and just goes really quiet. And it feels like there should be adverts in it. So it's not like the program's terrible, it's just that it just feels stinted every so often. They just either lose it or they just have nothing to say, and then they have to try and work out ways to get back on track really quickly. But with Sunday brunch, with advert breaks, it doesn't ever feel like they're just standing around not knowing what they're doing. So it's not a rivalry. It's just I think Saturday Kitchen might want to move to ITV so that James Martin can have a breather. You don't even watch him drink a cup of tea on Sunday brunch. They're always sipping tea.
Wow, it's sad. We should make him a tea.
He probably has a dry mouth. And so coming towards the end of this interview, where can people see you other than your main show?
In Edinburgh or in
Edinburgh to begin with.
I'm in Edinburgh. I'm doing guest spots all over the place. I kind of tweet about most of them. So I'm doing Comedy Arcade. I'm doing Wizard My Pants. I'm doing Character Building Experience. I'm doing little stand-up bits here and there. I can do a Mayhew live at some point. I'm doing all sorts of different stuff. So just follow me on Twitter and you'll find out. In terms of after Edinburgh, not too much booked in at the moment, but hopefully I'll have tour or some sort of extra dates after Edinburgh that'll all be on my website and my Twitter and my YouTube and stuff like
that. And you can watch is it your last year's show that's on YouTube at the moment, the full one?
No. Yeah.
So I am correcting what I was about. So his last year's show is also available on YouTube. I would recommend you watch it. The only downside to it, which is the only thing, is I don't know whether or not it's on purpose or by accident. It's just, you have your massive wall thing. It's sort of cut off on the. I don't know whether that.
That's because it wasn't professionally filmed. It was just that video is just like a video from the back of the room during the gig. So it wasn't like we were filming it to put it out, but like the plan was, because that was in January 2020 that was filmed. It's not like a professionally shot one. It's just a camera from the back of the room. But I think at the very least people can hopefully hear it and get the vibe.
But it's still worth watching. That was just
cheers, mate.
It is fantastic. And I do think if you want to watch brilliant stand-up on YouTube, then first of all, you watch Tom's show, then you go to £800 Gorilla Media, then you stop what you're doing. Make sure you're not going into a terrible territory. Most American comedians that upload shorts, and then go on to next up comedy. Then you watch some good comedy. Not saying that Britain's the way to go. It's just some of the YouTube shorts from American stand-ups aren't that great, but that's just my opinion. And
controversial opinions. He's coming out. He's swinging.
Yes. I can't name any names because they're comedians I've never heard of. And so, outside of Edinburgh and outside of this, have you got any projects that people can listen to soon? Have you got anything else on the radio or any audio related thing people can sink their earlobes into?
I mean, you can find both my series of my Radio 4 show online. There's links on the website to listen to them both, because one of them's on YouTube and one of them's on BBC Sounds. I don't really know why the first series isn't on BBC Sounds, but that's just what they did. So you can listen to them both there. And what else? I'm in my podcast and stuff. You can check that out, or just phone me up and have a chat.
There we have it. We had a wonderful. Now, you want to hear more from my mouth, I've got 18 YouTube channels and 12 podcasts, and I've got a website I need to update. So you'll always hear out this mouth. If you want to hear me be more professional than most to other to other people that are willing to take their time, well, if you're knocking about this evening, then there might be something around, I'm going to say 9 p.m, but it depends on the speed of my fingers. And there might be something there on the third channel, the weird side, because this is Tom's Comedy Club. And stay tuned for Wednesday. Some point Wednesday, there might be a new video on the weird side. So more interviews from me coming soon, and hopefully you'll enjoy my hello video for the end of the year, because I am currently on track to beat my record of last year, which if for anyone that's curious about what my record last year was 23. This year I'm hoping to get a baseball bat and smack it out of the ballpark. And so, thank you guys for watching, and remember, no, I've forgotten,